about to see is about my hometown, Montour number 10 library, coal mining town, and all the characters in it are real. These are real stories, none of them are made up, and some are my stories, but most of them are from the community. So the play evolved itself. This is the original artwork that represents the little girl growing up and the things that were important, that would be me. Are you going to be downstairs? Are you going to watch?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Are you going to watch the play?
No.
Okay, well then go ahead. I just wanted to make sure. So don't get ready to start. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good enough. We're ready. We're getting ready to start right now. The other thing that I would like to say in way of introduction is this play has been on its feet, and I'm still working on it, so it's still being developed. The set is simply two sets of staircases that are easily moved to represent everything from a church with pews to a house. So this would be the house with a roof, and there were projections. But the set was easily movable, and it changed every location for the story.
Excuse me, please, Ms.
Yes.
Do you want this closed? Because he told me to leave it open.
It doesn't matter. You can leave it open. It's fine.
Leave it open?
Yes.
Cool. That way they can go down and up. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And I'm missing one actor. I suppose he's probably caught
No.
in traffic.
I think I better tell them to keep it closed.
Okay, well, all right. Whatever you think is best. And so I will be filling in for him. And the last thing I'd like to say is first character, the character that I'm reading is the second storyteller. And it's based on a gentleman, his name is Willie Bourne. He is our town griot. He had all the information. Today we buried him, and so I feel particularly honored that we were able to preserve his stories, not only for this play, but for a future play as we proceed. So, Mr. Willie, this for you. There are no stage directions. Things just written.
When I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. I wish I was home, I wish I was back there. The things I've been knowing. Wind that makes the tall grass bend into leaning. Suddenly the raindrops that fall, they have a meaning. Sprinkling the scene makes it all clean. Growing up, everybody was like me. We were colored, we knew it, and it was fun. I lived on over here. Now the other streets were Highland and Grant, and we went to church on Mountain. And that was it. That was my whole rainbow world. I had pigtails, and I wore play clothes made from old curtains and skipped along in run-over shoes. Well, when I wasn't going barefoot. I lived in 3 rooms. And living in my house of 3 rooms, one of course being the kitchen, was my great-grandma, my grandma, my mom, my dad, my 2 aunts, my uncle, my 2 cousins, my sister, and me. We were a very close family. I would feast on such delicacies as sugar bread, mayonnaise bread, polio bread, and my all-time favorite, ketchup bread. It was sort of kind of like a poor man's pizza. Of course, I didn't know anything about pizza at that time. Now, bath time was in the kitchen in the middle of the floor in a big metal tub that was hand-filled by Mommy with water that was heated up on a coal stove. That's how I learned the expression, don't throw the baby out with the bath water. Because by the time it was my turn to bathe, that bath water was cold and murky looking, and I was hard to find. See, we only took baths on Saturday nights, and usually we washed up in the kitchen sink. My grandma would tell us to wash as high as possible and as low as possible. And if no one was looking, wash all possible too. We didn't have a bathroom, and really we didn't even know what a bathroom was. In the corner of the cellar on the dirt floor sat a toilet. And if you were little like me, you had to jump up in the air, usually several times, to grab the string that was attached to the pool chain to turn on one naked light bulb to even find the toilet. Now, with only the faint light from the upstairs kitchen to guide you down that dark cellar stair to that string, well, let me just tell you, it was quite an adventure to go pee and took a considerable amount of bravery. Now, after flushing, you had to map out a quick path to the flat steps before turning out the lights because your eyes wouldn't adjust well to the coming darkness. I swore the devil himself lived down there in that basement because every time I turned the light out, red floaters would circle around my eyes that looked like spooky faces, which of course in my young mind were absolutely the devil and his legion of demons. Many a time I almost broke my neck trying to race up those steps to escape demon possession. Now every day I would play down in the dip in the middle of the street with all the other kids. We would play huckety-buck, how many fingers do I have up? And I would brace myself so that my skinny little legs wouldn't buckle when one of the bigger kids like Billy would run and leap on my back. And I was shaking but determined not to fall over so that my team would win. I jumped rope with the clothesline. Tramp, 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 we go a-marching, calling Debbie to my door. Debbie is the one who's been having all the fun, so we don't need Crystal anymore. Shut the door. Green light, yellow light, red light, stop. Red Rover, I dare. Jimmy over. Gritting my teeth, I would not be the weakest link in the chain. I was particularly proud when I caught the ball that Alan threw, even though it burned my chest like hellfire when we played monkey in the middle and you can't get out. I made endless mud pies because my cousin Sponge told me that they would turn into candy if you made them just right. So I dug dirt from every yard around trying to perfect my recipe. And sure enough, one day I found a Mary Jane sitting on top of mine, but I couldn't remember for the life of me where yard I got the dirt from. Me and Titi played jacks. Well, even though they weren't really jacks, just some old red dog rocks from the alley. And I played church with Diane. But we never got to preach because Sandra was the only one who could be minister. After all, she was right. It was her grandma's porch, and the only porch that had furniture for pews where our pretend church congregation would meet. And I felt oh so special picking pita beds, dandelions, for a bouquet of flowers for my mom, which she said were so beautiful, even though they were wilting in my hand. And I was just hoping the juice from the stems wouldn't make me wet the bed. This was my world, and it didn't change until I went to school.
When you're talking about library, you talking about cold cans. Library was called Montour number 10. You ever see that Montour train coming through? How was it? Well, we ate. Wasn't easy, but somehow we made it. Now, most of the people worked in the mines. See, that's the main thing around here. Some got work in the mill. Well, that's the same thing. Everything outside the city was coal mines. Well, that's the reason all we blacks is here, for the coal. Everybody around here mostly came from Alabama. Now, if you came from Virginia and the Carolinas, but mostly here, it's Alabama. Yeah, you can listen to a few of them older people talk, you hear their accent. A lot of them, they came from the same place. In other words, one came and brought somebody with him. Now, when you go to a coal town, they tell you, don't you throw no stones, because you liable to hit one of your own people. And that's how come you got all these little pockets of black folks. One came and then bought others. When you trace them all the way back, where they all relations of one kind or another, why they come? I guess anything was better than picking and chopping cotton. You part of one of the oldest family came up here. Your great grandma Susie was from Alabama. You know Birmingham, Alabama, but they called that the Pittsburgh of the South, because they had coal mines and steel mills. Okay, the coal company. See, coal was the boss. You know where Tom Spencer's yard is? Well, there used to be another house on that lot. That's why his yard is so big. That's where the company store used to be. There used to be another house on that lot, the company store. Oh yeah, the company store was right on this hill. All these houses you see, they was company. And you had to eat first, and that's why you never got to see your pay. Because everybody had to go to the company store. You had to make a charge to get something to eat. Now, if you like, you remember Julius Pitts, one of them old timers? He raised pigs. That'd give you a little bit of meat. And that would save you from buying everything at the company store. Well, the store didn't exactly take your pay. You spent it there. Christmas time come around, something like that, where all of us had big lots of kids, and you wasn't going to stand up there and let your kid get nothing. So you have to make an extra charge at the company store. Now that company store stopped up here when they built the big store, Federal Supply, Pittsburgh Coal Company. They owned everything. Times, it felt like they owned you. You got 16 tons, and what do you get? Another day older and deeper in dirt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store.
We didn't know we was poor. I mean, my shoes wore out, and my daddy put cardboard in them. But I wasn't the only one with cardboard in my shoe, because it looked like everybody was wearing cardboard in their shoe. So I was still not realizing that we was poor. My grandfather, you know, I think he was the first one up on that hill that had automobile. And so that meant that we had some inner tubes. So my daddy, my granddaddy took my brother, my daddy, and he showed him how to shape that inner tube, cut it, and put it inside the shoe. Mm-hmm. And I remember going to school with an old shoestring tied around my shoe, and I'm telling you, my shoe was just a flap. It was a flipping and a flap. But everybody around there, their shoes was flapping too. So we didn't really know that we was considered to be poor. I guess because we was all in the same poor boat. And we all had some chores. You did your chores before you did anything else. You had chores like ironing and washing clothes and you know what? And you had to help your mama. You had to help your mama with the chores. Anyway, we would get up early. I think it was around July or August. We would get up about 6 o'clock in the morning. And honey, we would go blackberry picking. Blackberry picking. Ooh, we had a good time doing that. And then we would get dressed with these old long long sleeves, and then we would have our overalls, and you know, we had to always tuck our sleeves and make sure that the pants legs went in them shoes, because that way you wouldn't get stung or you wouldn't get poison ivy, because you had to worry about things like that. Anyway, we would cover our heads up with a scarf or old hat, and we didn't want to get scratched up. Yeah, it was hot. It was as hot as it could be. But we had fun doing that because that was our responsibility. And food back then used to come in these great big old cans. And my daddy, he would put a hole on each side of the can and a little string in. And that's what we use for now, berry picking. I mean, we have to go there every day during the season because our parents would can that their food. And they would can that food, and honey, they would make the best desserts. We would have blackberry pie, blackberry dumplings, blackberry cobblers, whatever was in season, we would have to pick it. It could be apples, pears. We had a little grapevine in the back. And I remember all them orchards was over behind where Miss Loretta lived. And you took part in helping to feed your family. And then you would go down to the basement. And in the basement it would be part of it was dirt and dark, and then the other part was a little bit finished. But that dark dirt part, that was called the dark cellar, and it's where we put that fruit that we had picked and that they had canned. And you know, you better not come back home with just 1 or 2 apples either.
My grandma loved her. She had jewelry box in her bedroom. Oh, one of my greatest pleasures as a kid was to sneak upstairs, open her jewelry box, and try on all of her marvelous diamond jewelry collection. Oh, she had earrings, and she had a bracelet, and a necklace, and ooh, she even had a little tiara. Pretty. Now, I don't remember her telling me that I could not play with them, but I knew these items were very precious to her and used only rarely. My grandmother, she would get all dressed up to the nines in all her diamond finery. She'd put on her red lipstick and her Nancy Wilson looking wig, put on her high heels, and she would go right on down to the beer garden called the Seaball Cafe. Now, in my 8-year-old little mind, the beer garden conjured up these images of beautiful people and exotic flowers and champagne glasses, and all the people were all dressed up like my grandma. Now, by the time I got to be about 10 or 11, I was old enough to be a sort of human telegraph. Now, believe it or not, back in those days, everybody didn't have a cell phone. Now, sometimes my grandma would give me a message to give to one of the patrons inside the beer garden. I would go on down there, and I would knock on the door to Seaball Cafe. I had to knock several times real loud so somebody would hear me over the chorales, singing, "Will you still love me in the morning?" Ooh, ooh, and then one of your adults would come to the door. And I would try really hard while the door was briefly cracked. I would try to peek in and see the flowers, but the adults, they would always purposely block my view, and it would frustrate my curiosity. But one day, that day finally came when the door accidentally flew open and I took a good long peek inside, and oh my God, it looked to me like colored people could have an evening out. I learned a few things as I got older. Now, which do you want? Good news or the bad news first? Well, the good news is I learned that the adults were standing guard, blocking my view into an adult world because they wanted to protect my innocence. The bad news is I also learned that my grandma's diamonds, they were just faded rhinestones.
My mother was a strong person and she didn't take nobody's mess. But she would always say to me, wait till your father get home. When we were growing up, there was basically always a man in the house. And if there wasn't a man like your father, then there was like your grandfather or an uncle or somebody, but somebody was there. One thing I hated more than anything was when my dad would come home. He would literally lecture me for hours. I'm talking, you couldn't move, you had to just sit there, and you better not roll your eyes, you better just keep your face blank. And you had to take it and listen to him go on and on and on and on, and then he would pace back and forth. Well, you know what you did was wrong, Shirley Mae. You know, why'd you do it, Shirley Mae? What you thinking of, Shirley Mae? And to make matters worse, if the offense wasn't bad enough, I still got a whooping anyway. So I, number one, did not talk back to my father, no matter what he said, or my mother for that matter. And I did not talk back to any adult for fear of they was going to tell my dad. Now see, we lived in Overhill. And we wasn't allowed to go over to Highland without asking permission. Over here, Highland. The conditions was that I had to tell my parents where I was going. I could only stay for 1 hour, and I had to be on the porch. And those were the conditions set by my dad. Plus, my dad would make sure there was a responsible adult there like Mr. Billy White or Mrs. Elizabeth Carrington home before I could even go and visit my friends Ruth Ann and Sugarland. Nowadays, I think the rules aren't being set enough. Like, I never ever heard about my dad cussing until he became ill with Alzheimer's. That was the first time I'd ever heard about my dad cussing. I went to see him in a nursing home, and the nurse who usually takes care of him had her wrist all bandaged up. And I said, honey, what happened to you? What happened? And she said, your dad is what happened. And I told her, I said, what? And he said, I told him to eat, and he didn't want to do it. And he told me that I'm going to kick your blankety blank blank. And then he grabbed me by my wrist. And she said my dad would cuss her out, something awful. And I said, oh, no, not my dad. My dad don't cuss. And she said, oh, yes, your dad do. See, the thing is, my dad never cussed in front of us, and he certainly didn't cuss at us. Today, these young parents will cuss their kids out like it ain't no big deal at all. And you know what? I think that's sad.
I had this one little good friend, Dorothy Levisky. And Dorothy, you know the Levisky brothers? The Levisky family told me, because I was light-skinned, that I was white. Well, look white. So I went home to dinner, and we sat down at the dinner table. Everybody was home from college, so that means I think Betty was there. Yeah, Betty was there. She was at the table. I was about 5 or 6 years old or whatever. And I started going around the table in the middle of dinner saying who I thought was colored and who I thought was white. So I went around the table and people laughed at first because I started off with Mama. Mama, you're white. And she just, she dismissed it. And then I said, and Daddy, you're colored. And he thought that was kind of funny because, I was his cute little baby girl. So then I went around the table, naming all the colored people and all the white people in my family at the table. And then I got to my brother, who was kind of caramel color, not dark like Daddy or real light like Mama. And I said, now Bobby, I think you're colored too. And everybody started laughing. And he got real angry. And I remember he got so angry. He was home from college. I remember that, and he'd been laughing along with everyone else until I said that he was colored. And he said, Mama, you need to spank her. You and Daddy shouldn't just let her say anything she wants. I was really surprised because everybody thought it was so cute before. Everybody was laughing and I was just entertaining my family. And he wanted to spank me for saying that he was colored, not white.
When you talk about library, you talking about the church. When you talk about the church, you got to talk about Dr. Fields. He was from Alabama. He was like a community leader down there. Dr. Fields was one really responsible for the building of Mount Zion. You know the church on Shiloh on the other hill? That original building used to be the Coal Company Dance Hall. They still dancing up there, but now they do the holy dance. Anyway, when Dr. Fields come here from Alabama, he knew how to organize. Because he organized down there. Well, as much as the white folks are left. Well, when they wanted to build a church up here, they went to the company. And, okay, the company wanted to put it on their land. In other words, the company wanted to own the church. And Doc Fields said, well, that's what everybody called him, Doc. He was just a coal miner too. He is just an old man, but he had good wits about him. He said, no, Baptists don't do things that way. He said, we have to have the title to the land. He must have done some kind of talking. I mean, that man had to do some kind of talking, because he talked so good, they agreed and gave them Baptists the land. And that's how Mount Zion, well, that's the birth of it. Now, one of the pastors was Banks. I think he was a relation to Fields. I know Reverend Byers was.
On Sunday, you had to go to Sunday school. You had to do church, and you had to do BYTU, Baptist Youth Training Union. That's where you were broken into classes and you were taught. It was like an extension of the Red Cross or the mission. The rule in our house was, if you didn't feel like going to church, Sunday school, and BYTU, then you didn't feel like going anywhere else that week. Every Sunday, my brother woke up with a stomach ache. And he didn't feel so good. I guess maybe because he was a boy and the baby that he got away with it most of the time. But me and my sister, if we didn't feel like going to Sunday school, church, and BYTU, we didn't feel like going anywhere. I remember when we used to do the 3-church rally. It was Mount Zion, Bethel Park, and Reverend Wilson had a church right up the river. Each year, each church had to host it. And of course, we always made homemade ice cream. That just had to be done. And I remember my grandmother making cakes and she would slice them down and put them on a 6-inch plate, cover them with, I guess, cellophane or wax paper so that people can see what was in them. And she put them inside a basket. She would tell me to knock on every door. I mean every door, and sell them. And don't you come back home without any of them, she used to say. That's how we used to raise money so when the other churches came, we were able to feed them or whatever. Because it was an all-day thing. With all these 3 churches coming together, we got to see everybody. We got to see other black kids. It was real exciting. Real exciting.
Mount Zion Baptist Church Library, little church on the hill, means so much to me and always will. I couldn't wait for Sunday. I loved everything about my little church growing up. I loved that Jesus loved me, even me, and that he would hear my humble cry, and that he would not pass me by. Jesus knew all about my troubles. I got to ring the big church bell if I was early enough, and you better believe I made it my business to be early enough. And I'd always be greeted at the vestibule door by Miss Liz, who always had her ushers in white blouses, black skirts, and white gloves. And you walked in and felt like you were special. And if you were old enough, you got a church bulletin that had everything you ever needed to know in it. And a fan, in case someone got to shouting like, fire, shut up and make bones, and needed your assistance in a fan job session. I just love looking at all the regal ladies in their Sunday best. Hats and pocketbooks, pointy heels and gloves. Their kind of beauty was a true beauty, a godly beauty. Miss Ruth L., Miss Hench, Miss Palsy, and Miss Eloise. Then there were the deacons in their suits and ties sitting in the front pews in positions of honor, and I respected them. My behavior was on point when they were around. Oh, and the way they prayed. I made it my mission as a child to learn the elegant rhythm and inflection and phrasing by heart, and I could pray right along with the best of them, just like Deacon Blakely and Deacon Green.
Father God, thank you for waking me up early this morning.
Yes.
Touched by your finger, love.
Yes.
Clothed in my right mind.
Yes.
Blood
Yes.
running warm in my veins with my mind. Yes, sir. Stayed on Jesus.
Yes.
Then in comes the choir, swaying and rocking to the music as they marched in. Miss Berryman, Miss Virginia, Mary Ross, and Ducky. And oh, it really was the best when the mass and the senior choir sang together. Miss Mary Hall, Mr. Leo, and Miss Goggins taking the choir stand in burgundy robes to the sound of Jackie working out on the piano. I can hear Mr. Warren singing,
Blessed quietness, holy quietness, what assurance in my soul. On the stormy sea, Jesus speaks to me, as the billow seems to roll.
and there was always an occasional shout from the mother of the church, Miss Lola Bell. She was like the Wizard of Oz, the oldest and wisest of us all.
Well, Jesus! Woo, Jesus!
Then the hour of power, when Reverend Byers would come out of his office in his black robe and take his place in the pulpit. I felt a sense of holiness that commanded my attention just by his very presence. Then he would begin to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. He would begin.
Fact about it, I would have fainted if I had not believed that this see the goodness of the Lord
Yes.
in the land of the living.
Thank you, Lord.
And my little heart would burn within me. And in his closing, after which all fans would be clapping like birds,
Yes.
he would come to the doors inviting, whosoever will, let him come. And one day, I walked up. He would then make his final appeal to the church.
If you cannot go to the mission field, at least you can send and relieve the suffering of others.
Those words forever embedded in our hearts and souls and set us aflame with the spirit of giving and made this little church on the hill give and reach down deep into their already fragile pockets and give more. And the object of our giving, our affection, was the lot-carrying foreign mission in Liberia, Africa. And all our church would sing together, "This may be the last time. This may be the last time, children. This may be the last time. It may be the last time, I don't know." And we sang that like we meant it. And Brother Brian would give us the benediction. Let brotherly love continue. Let brotherly love continue. Let brotherly love continue. And we would take the name of Jesus with us, and sometimes we would go downstairs to fellowship. Well, eat. And not meaning to brag, but we boasted the best homemade cooking this side of the Appalachian Mountains. Lord, if I close my eyes, I can still taste Miss Johnson's pineapple ice cream, freshly churned by one and all, cool and delicious and melting in my mouth. A couple of times I was sure I had died and gone to glory while I was eating it. I love my church. I loved everything about my church. We were connected like a huge family, a family of love.
S is for Stewart, that's good enough for me. S is for Stewart, it's good enough for me. S is for Stewart, it's good enough for me. Oh, Stewart, it's for me.
On the first day of kindergarten at snack time, we all got a small carton of white milk. And then the teacher passed out small brown envelopes to all of the kids for milk money. It cost 25 cents to get a carton of white milk for a week, 5 cents a day, and 30 cents for chocolate. We were to take these envelopes home and bring them back the next day with our milk money for the week. I took my envelope home and I gave it to my mom. The next day, there was no money in the envelope. My mom said we didn't have the money. So I returned my envelope to the teacher, and when snack time came, I didn't get a milk. All the kids in the class got milk but me. The teacher told me I could go get a drink of water from the fountain. And when the kids asked her, why didn't she get a milk? The teacher said, because she's poor and she can't afford it. And all the kids laughed. Now, every now and then, a kid who paid for milk would be absent, and the teacher would ask me, would you like to have their milk? And I told her, no, I don't like milk. And to this day, I still don't like milk.
I guess kindergarten becomes an aha moment for many folks. I met my son at the bus stop after school the first day, and he was fuming. Mommy, guess what? Guess what happened at school? He called me blackity black, Mommy. Well, honey, you are black. Mommy, what are you talking about? I'm not black. Yes, honey, you are. But Mommy, I don't look black. Well, son, there are a lot of black people who don't look black. In fact, most black people are not really black in color at all. We all have different shades of black and brown. My friend Tommy is black and I'm white. No, son. You are a fair-skinned black boy, and Tommy is a darker-skinned black boy. But you're both black. Still looking rather puzzled, he said. Mommy, are you black? Yes, son, I am. Is Daddy? Bunna? Grandma? Yes, son, we are all a part of the family of color that people call black. He smacked himself on the forehead and said, "Why didn't anybody tell me?" We thought you knew. Well, I didn't. Do you understand now? Are you sure, Mommy? I said, yes, baby, I'm sure. Okay. Well then, I guess I'm black. The next day he came home from school and I asked him, "Did Billy call you blackity black at school today?" He said, "Yes, he called me blackity black, and I told him you might go home and find out you're black like I did, so there." Kindergarten lost his novelty with the quickness.
It was my first day of kindergarten. I'm meeting new kids. They're different than me, but they look just like me. I asked a little boy with blonde hair if he wanted to play with me, and he said yes. We decided to go to the puzzles, and we were having lots of fun, and he dropped his puzzle on the floor, and it went all over the place. My kindergarten teacher told me to pick it up for him. I said, "But teacher, he dropped it, so he should pick up his own puzzle." And she turned to me and said, "Did you hear me? I told you to pick up that puzzle." "But I didn't drop it, he did," I said. "Pick up that puzzle now, you little chocolate milk. I said pick up that puzzle." Now something about the way she said chocolate milk and how she looked at me when she said it, I knew that there was no power on this earth that was going to make me pick up that puzzle, ever. So of course, on my first day of school, I was punished. I got paddled. After that, I would walk to school with the other kids, but I wouldn't go into the class. I would play in the shortcut near the school about 2 weeks before I was discovered and made to go. And the other kids started calling me KDO after that. Kindergarten dropout.
In kindergarten, we had a Christmas grab bag. My teacher, Miss Jiggles, had a box that she decorated and filled with slips of blue and pink paper. And if you picked the blue, you would buy a boy's gift, and if you got pink, a girl. Well, when it was my turn to pick, I picked pink. So I went home with my pink paper, and I told my mom that we had to buy a really nice gift for the Christmas grab bag. Something really, really, really nice, Mom. Mom said,
Baby, we can't afford to buy a gift. We don't have the money. But we can make something really nice for you to take.
make? 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 Now I'm thinking, I don't want to take some old mammy-made gift in the school grab bag. All the kids are going to laugh at me. See, after that whole milk money envelope being empty thing, I knew all the kids knew I was poor. I figured if my mom really loved me, I mean really loved me, she would at least get me something new for the school grab bag. Mom said,
How about we make a paper doll and you can help?
I'm thinking to myself as I ball my fists up in my pockets, I'm not helping at all. Mom paid me no attention and got the cardboard box and opened it up flat and drew a doll on it. And with little broken bits of crayon, she colored it in. She gave the doll red lips, brown eyes, freckles, and pink underwear. She made hair from the bottom of a brown paper bag that she fringed and colored with a pencil. Mom took the rest of the brown bag and drew a whole wardrobe for the doll. She told me to cut the outfits out, being careful to cut neatly on the lines. We colored them in together. She said I was a really good colorer. Then Mom made paste from flour and water and took some of the scraps and embellished each outfit with buttons and bows. She even glued a red bow in the doll's hair. She put the doll and the clothes in a box and covered the box with a brown paper bag and drew a closet door on the top and tied it with a string. What do you think now? Oh, she asked me. What do you think now? I hate it! I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, and I'm not taking that old gift to the school grab bag.
You're going, and you're going to take this gift.
Well, on the day of the grab bag, nothing can console me. I cried, I pleaded, I even faked sick. But Mom wasn't having it. She walked me all the way to school, put the gift in my box, kissed me on the head, and left. And when the time for grab bag came, I went to the back of the class. I was so angry and embarrassed that I wouldn't even look up. Tears were starting to form in my eyes. Everybody's gonna laugh at me like before. Finally, one little girl drew the last gift out of the box, and it was mine. She opened it, laughing. Look, everybody, look! Tears were now streaming down my face. Look at this paper doll, it's homemade. And it's beautiful. All the other little girls rushed in to look. One of the other little girls said, "You got the best gift. I wonder who made it." Suddenly, my tears of sorrow were now tears of joy, and my chest puffed out full of pride. I yelled at the top of my lungs, "My mom made it, and I helped." You can make stuff like this? Yeah, me and my mom was always making stuff like this together. I learned something that day that I would hold on to as a part of my identity forever. That I have value because I can create. Value to myself and value to others. Thanks, Mom.
Kennywood. In the summertime, that's the place to be. Kennywood, oh, Kennywood, oh, for me, Kennywood's the place to be.
I really love my Aunt Doe, but she lived in Whitson. So when I found out that Aunt Doe was going to Kennywood with us, I almost peed my pants. Tukey, Pam, Diane, all my brothers and sisters, my cousins, my whole town, and my Aunt Doe, I was in heaven. Oh, and Kennywood meat. Aunt Doe would bring the fried chicken and the Kennywood meat. Now, for those of you who don't know what Kennywood meat is, let me explain. Well, it's the black folks' version of ham salad. Jumbo, well, bologna, ground up with sweet pickle relish and mayo seasoned to sweet perfection and only available to us colored kids for Kennywood. Hence the name Kennywood meat. So now, we're on our way with Aunt Doe's Kennywood meat, fried chicken packed and ready, and she asked all the kids, "What do you want to do when we get there?" Ride! We shouted!
Wanna go riding?
Crystal?
Do merry-go-round.
Potty Putt, Dana.
Racers! Racers!
Scott, Boogie.
Tony's.
Of course, Frankie couldn't ride anything because he had an inner ear problem. He just got sick when he rode. So he answered, "I want to go to the arcade, Aunt Doe." Okay, at 5 o'clock, everybody meet me at the arcade. So we're all at Kennywood Arcade promptly at 5. Now, contrary to popular belief, CPT, colored kids can be on time for the arcade. Now, Aunt Doe says to us kids, "So who wants some tickets for prizes?" "Oh, we do, we all replied. Aunt Doe responded, All right, go pick out the prize you want and tell me how many tickets we need for you to get it. Now, skee-ball was the game, and Ando was the best there ever was and ever will be at it. Nobody, and I do mean nobody, was better. Picture it. We were at the OK Corral, and she was all Wyatt Earp, coming in with guns a-blazing. The first ball she threw hit 40, then another 40, then 50, then 100, 150, 100, 100, and a huge crowd formed, and tickets they was piling up like, well, I don't know what they was piling up like, but they was piling up. About a gazillion trillion of them. All I know is everybody was going to get a great, big, really good prize from them tickets. She had been going strong for about an hour. And all us little kids, we were rooting for her and jumping up and down and shouting, Ando, 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 Ando. We were so excited and happy. This was the best day at Kennywood ever. Ando was laughing at us. She said we looked like little Mexican jumping beans. And then she threw the next ball, and just as she was in full stride, she released it. And she fell face down, right in the middle of the skee ball alley. Oh my gosh, she fell hard. I mean real hard. Too hard. She didn't move. Oh God. What just happened? All the kids just started screaming, Ando! I call an ambulance! Move them kids! The adults pulled us kids back out of the way. Oh my God. Ando, is Ando gonna be all right? I couldn't believe it. My Ando right in front of me, playing skee ball. We were all in shock, screaming and crying. We watched as the paramedics, they lifted her. They placed her on a stretcher. And the best day at Kennywood had quickly turned into the worst. I hate Kennywood. I hate it. As they carried her away, with tears running down my face, I heard her feeble voice say, where's my purse? I got it. In all that craziness, and in all the confusion, my little 6-year-old sister Putty Putt had sense enough to scoop up both Ando's purse and all them tickets. She still had her eyes on the prize. I was just relieved that my aunt was alive. Later we found out that Ando had just fainted. That's when I learned that one of the early symptoms of pregnancy can be fainting. And I got another boy cousin. Ando has 9 boys and 1 girl. Kennywood was ruined for me that day. Even though every one of us kids got just the prize we had picked out at the arcade. That was my best and worst memory of Kennywood, both in the same day. My Aunt Doe, legendary queen of skee ball.
There's a thrill upon the hill. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Oh, yeah.
There's a thrill upon the hill. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Oh, now you talking.
Dancing up behind Grandma's house was this little house. Well, a shack, really. Now, who owned it? I forget that now. Oh, no. Herman Green owned it. He owned that little shack. He sold ice. He had a little speakeasy, too, just like Grandma Lowe's. Like you weren't allowed to go to the white bar down the library. So all the blacks had these little speakeasies in it. Over the hill by Miss Mary's Woods had one, and we all had to go back there. Yeah, Jim Crow was what they called it. Now, when I was young, library had a little band that would practice in there. Now, who was in it? Let me see. Who was it? Oh, they had a little band, and I'll tell you who was in that band. Ouija, Teddy, Sanford, I think George. Yeah, George.
your Uncle Larry, and Aunt Shirley. Now, I know I'm forgetting somebody. Well, all those guys played instruments. Larry, he played the guitar. Ouija played the guitar, too. Teddy played the drums, and Sanford was a singer. Now, what did they call themselves? Let me think. God, I can't seem to think about it right now, but they all had on blue suits. What was their name? Help me, Jesus. Help me remember what they... Oh, the Showstoppers. That's it. The Showstoppers. They wanted to make a record up in New York, but something happened. Well, anyway, a bunch of them would play in that joint, and they were really good at it, too, I'm telling you. Teddy, he could play the bongos, and I mean, he could sing. He had a beautiful high voice like Smokey Robinson, like, ooh, baby, baby. See, I can't get up there, that's all. Now, Teddy, he could sing too, and Shirley, she sang. She sounded more like what's that lady's with long hair? Etta James. Oh, Shirley, Sanford, and Teddy would sing, and the band would play behind them. Did I tell you that Teddy was the best dancer around here too? Now, he could sing, but Teddy could dance. Now, I love to dance. But I wasn't the best at it. I could do the pony. And I could do the stroll. And I could do the chicken. And occasionally I would do the dance. All the girls like the fans dance with Teddy. They line up, push each other out the way, and see who can dance with Teddy. And you can hear them up here practicing and dancing away with Teddy. All the girls like to dance with him. Now we could stand outside and hear them in the alley. They was getting down, drums and bongos, teenagers and little kids right up there behind Grandma's house, dancing like it was no tomorrow. The adults would be watching and clapping and laughing, and you know what? I bet they could have made it really big if they would have just stuck to it. You know, if somebody would have promoted them, they would have, because they had that much talent. Who knows how far they could have went? Could have sung for Motown or Atlantic Records. Man, the Showstoppers. What happened? What happened? Oh, I know what happened. Larry and Ouija got drafted. The band broke up and that ended the music. They had some real good records back then too. I'm talking real good. But one thing for sure, two things for certain. We all had a good time up there listening to them dancing at that little library band. And girl, we could do it too. Now I might could do it now. Let me see. Nah, baby, I might break you. Now, one thing for sure, two things for certain. Library was one little dancing town. And you know what? When I think about it, this little hill had a whole lot of talent. Music, dancing, sports, all the talent. Probably still does. If anybody's interested. Wasn't that nice?
Alma mater, her we cherish, dear South Park High. MAH00016, dear South Park High.
We won the WPIAL championship in 1956. How many blacks? Tommy, George, Joe, Bob, me, and Alvin Ross. In basketball, 4 out of 5 starters were black. Walter Kelly. He's dead now. He made this scrapbook for me. Yeah, white guy Walter. The reason I'm not dressed in uniform in that picture, I didn't play in my senior year. I was too old. I started school late, so in my senior year, I didn't get a chance to play. I was a junior. In my senior year, I didn't get a chance to play. I was a coach, a manager. I was a coach in my last year. You see, that's Skin. He was a top basketball player at the time. And Joe. What changed the whole time? The coaches. Bauer and Neverday. They changed the whole thing at Snowden. Them there. Those 2 coaches there. They weren't about color, race, or bias. And all they went by was whoever had the best skills, you know? Who were the best athletes? And that's who played. They didn't care about color. They didn't have no favorites, didn't have special picks, or nothing like that. Like you say, when I was a freshman, I played over the juniors and the seniors because of my skill, my abilities. A lot of guys didn't like that because of me being black and a freshman. It did sort of cause a little turn, but the coaches, they didn't care. That's how I got to play early and was able to play on a championship team. And I helped make it a championship team.
Back in my group, we had so many black guys on this hill. And your dad and them, they set the tempo as far as athletics was concerned. What we had then was 2 coaches who really wanted to win. You talked about 1955 on up. These coaches, they wanted to win. And they kept getting good talent off this hill. Brother after brother, cousin after cousin, they had an outstanding sports history just off the talent, this little hill. When my turn came around, we had, out of 11 starters, 7 on the team were black. That was 58-60. Now, most schools around here, they didn't have but 1 black on their team. And here we are, with only 4 white guys on ours. 7 black guys from off this hill on the team. And we went undefeated. Coach Neverday, Coach Bauer. They had a lot of black boys on the team. George Atkins, Tom Spencer, Ronnie Taylor, Dale Ross, Alvin West. There was a lot of them. Man, some of them dead and gone now. But they left us a legacy of excellence. Coach Neverday, Coach Bauer.
Mr. Gerald, he was in charge of the drill team. We had to go to Ruby Daughtery to learn how to march and everything. There were 4 colored girls, me, Vera, Alberta, and Ann. We all tried out for the drill team. We had practiced hard, and you know what? We were good. And when they didn't pick no blacks. They picked all whites. We were so disappointed and discouraged. So, the black guys, or the football team, they went to Coach Neverday and they said, if you don't get any of our black girls on the drill team, we won't play football here. I couldn't believe it. They actually put all 4 of us on that drill team. And that's how South Park got black girls on the drill team. I was on for 2 years. And eventually, I was made captain. Vera was made captain too. I had a picture. Seemed like it was a picture of Vera and Alberta and Ann. We wore blue skirts with white turtlenecks with the S on the front and white cowboy boots with blue tassels. Oh yeah, I remember that real well. I will never forget it. Oh, we loved to march. We were proud to march. And I think once they let us on and saw how good we were, how hard we worked, we got some respect after that. I must say that Mr. Gerald, he was really nice. I don't think it was him that was against us. I think it was the people that voted. They were the ones that were against us. Because when they picked, they didn't pick any blacks. But the black boys on the football team, they stood up for us. They stood up for the black girls. Blacks in school back then, they had to stick together. And we did. The boys stood up for us. You know why they stood up for us? Because we're family.
When I was first called into the school office, that's when I knew something was wrong. Really wrong. See, I entered high school, but high school went from 7th to 12th grade. Let me back that up. It was the movie theater. The movie theater, all the blacks sat on this side, the left side, and all the whites sat on the right side. The usher always directed us to this side, our side. Well, one day, Anita got up, and she went and sat by her white friend on the white side. And we knew we were supposed to all go to the left side, and no one even considered the fact. I mean, I wouldn't even have considered the fact of going to the white side at that point, but Anita did. And everybody was talking about it. She was on the white people's side, and we were scared. All of us colored kids were scared. It wasn't that we had deliberately segregated ourselves. The usher sort of made us to know that we were automatically, no questions asked, to go to the black side. So what Anita did made us all afraid. Now, when I went to high school, there was this white guy named Eli, and all the girls liked him. I mean, all the girls liked Eli, but Eli liked me. He wore his hair just like Elvis Presley, and he would pass me in the hallway, and he would stop, and he would look at me, and he would wink, and he'd smile. And one day, while he's walking past me in the hallway, he reached over and grabbed my hand and held it. And my heart stopped. I mean, he had openly held my hand. Everybody saw him do it. And then we were called into the principal's office. The principal explained to us about me and about how I was colored, and how me being colored was a problem. And they didn't want that kind of problem in their school. And the principal said, "Do you understand what I'm telling you?" And we said we understood. So we got to the door to leave, and Eli looked back at the principal, and he put his arm around me, and he smiled. Well, they called me into the principal's office for everything after that. Anything that went wrong, I was called in. Somebody was stolen, somebody misplaced something, I was called in. Nobody else. Always me. And the conversation always started with, "Now, nobody's accusing you of anything." I'm always called in, but nobody is ever accusing me of anything. I began to feel the usher guiding me with a flashlight until I wouldn't even look at Eli when he passed me. I would put my eyes down. I was ushered back to the left side, the black side. Yeah, it wasn't bad living here if you just learned to accept. Yep, when you go to the shows, all the blacks had to sit on one side. Now, the original theater, you could sit where you wanted, but it burned down. Then the Italians came in and built a new show, and then they segregated it.
Well, they made it plain to us in 7th grade. The 7th grade minstrel show. The only one of us still alive now would be Gracie. Me and Nathan were the only boys. There are 7 of us all together, because everybody else had done quit before they got to the 7th grade. Anyway, they had this minstrel show, and they had us singing songs like, "Oh, Black Joe." And they said that the 7 colored kids should sing in the minstrel show, and that was at Destroyed School, Gaydon High School. My mother heard me rehearsing it. She heard me singing, "Master in the cold, cold ground." And all the black teachers loved him. When she heard me singing that, she said, "You ain't gonna be in the minstrel show." Poor Nathan had to go by himself. I told him, "I'm sorry, but I ain't allowed." Their school was rough then. See, they didn't pass blacks. I guess they kind of got away with it. You could look in the room and the chair was too small for that big kid. They just kept holding back the black kids till they would quit. It was rare for a black kid to get to high school. No, it wasn't easy. And after a while, you get tired of being pushed around, picked over, and left behind, discouraged. So after a while, they just get their working papers and go in the mines, even though they weren't even 16 years old. That's how it went then. Now, Miss Core was a teacher down south in Virginia, so her kids seemed to be a bit of an exception. Core would be up at their school like that. Yeah, they'd walk around a little bit when they messed with Core's kids. Core was an educated teacher, but they wouldn't let her teach at the school. They just let her teach the coal miners how to count their load. That's pretty much it. She was a school teacher down in the south, but like all the ladies around here, she just did days work. But every one of Core's kids went to college. Bill, her son was our age. He got drafted, but as soon as he got back, his mama made him finish his school. My mother and the rest of them around here, they was lucky if they got to the 3rd or 4th grade. Most of the rest of us, we was ignored, went to the coal mine. Now it's different, I think. Some of the kids realize, well, you got to have it. You just got to have an education. And I don't think that is stacked quite so much anymore.
Here comes Boss Smacking Funky on the radio. Here comes Boss Smacking Funky on the radio. He's the daddy of the radio. That's him. We weren't allowed to associate with white girls. You could say hi, bye, and that was it. You could not stand there and have a conversation with them. We knew that. That was an absolute no-no, completely off limits. One thing that was real bad at the time in Loudbury, I don't know if you remember or ever heard of Porky Chetney. He was on the radio, wham, Port the Tour. He used to travel all around these little towns and have records, hops, dances, always at the fire. And like in our little town of Loudbury Fire Department, he come here and the blacks weren't let in. Weren't allowed in there. We almost had like a big race riot the one time he came. And they wouldn't let us in. Wouldn't let none of the blacks go in to see him or to dance. We was like you say, we was almost like a Ferguson. We was throwing bricks and knocking windows out, destroying cars, turning them over. Oh, it was crazy back then. We were so angry because they wouldn't let us. I guess that was like the last straw. The straw that broke the camel's back. Seems to me after that era happened, that things started to change. A few years after I came out of school, I noticed a big change between blacks and whites in the 60s with Reverend Martin.
That's when I had most of my fun. How